Perfect. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us tonight. I am Crystal Spain. I'm the chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party, and welcome to our second town hall in our two-part series, really. But we're so excited to have our guests here today, Congressman Clyburn and Governor Martin O'Malley. Thank y'all so much for taking the time to join us about this very, very important issue. And I also just want to remind folks to let folks know that we are actively preparing to have our first in-person town hall in April. So if you're not plugged in with us, sign up for our action alerts or follow us on our social media channels because we will be announcing those dates very soon. And we know how important it is for us to actively meet this moment where we are in this country while Donald Trump and Elon Musk really work to just decimate our country. But I don't want to waste people's time. We've got a lot of questions. We've had over 2,000 people sign up, and we've had hundreds of questions submitted. So I want to give these gentlemen an opportunity to respond to your questions. And we're going to start with our fearless leader, who does not need an introduction, Congressman James Clyburn.
Well, thank you very much, Chairlady Spain. Thank you for the good work you're doing on behalf of the South Carolina Democratic Party. And thanks to all of you who are tuning in. And also the staff with it. Tell Jay I thank him as well. I see that you got Kadri around there. I hope he is not just taking up space. Let me thank Governor O'Malley for being with us today. Back when he was the Social Security Administrator, he visited with me, and I really got to admire the good work he was doing on behalf of this, I call it sacred trust. That's what Social Security is, a sacred trust. When Franklin Roosevelt signed into law Social Security almost 90 years ago as a part of his New Deal, it was called at the time the greatest anti-poverty program ever conceived because it immediately took seniors, people with disabilities, widows, took them out of poverty. And that's what Social Security is all about. And that's what makes it sacred. In 1950, Harry Truman amended the law because when it was first passed, domestic workers were not included, nor were farm workers. And in 1950, Harry Truman included them as well. Today, Social Security covers roughly 1.3 million people in South Carolina, 73 million people all across the country. Social Security has become a sacred contract between the government and its citizens. These earned benefits, I want to emphasize that. These earned benefits mean the difference between dignity and poverty, and sometimes even life and death. President Trump has picked a commissioner for Social Security who is now about the business of destroying that sacred trust. Last month, President Trump said it's a scam. The whole thing is a scam. That's what he said, referring to Social Security benefits database. Then, Elon Musk, this month, Elon Musk said Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. A Ponzi scheme? People who, like myself, I started paying Social Security when I was 14 years old. And I don't mind saying, Governor O'Malley, that was 70 years ago. Other people, I'm not can say the same thing. So I'm paying in Social Security all that time, and other people are paying all that time. How does it get to be a Ponzi scheme? You've earned this. The Secretary of Commerce, I couldn't believe it when I saw him the other day, talking about his mother-in-law and the fact that if she were to miss a Social Security payment, she wouldn't be bothered by it. Only scammers would be bothered by it. People who depend upon Social Security to buy groceries, to pay their rent, you're saying they are scammers? If they complain, if the Social Security check does not show up in time for you to pay rent or to buy the groceries you need, you aren't scammers. You put the money there, and now you are earning it back. And now there's a lot that I could say in this opening statement, but I don't want to take all of your time because we got an expert here with us. This guy knows this business forward and backwards. I'm going to skip over the other stuff that I've got planned, but I want to read in my close what President Truman said when he signed that Social Security amendment back in 1950. I'm quoting Truman. This measure demonstrates our determination to achieve real economic security for the American family. This kind of progressive, forward-looking legislation is the best possible way to prove that our democratic institutions can provide both freedom and security for all of our citizens. That was true about Social Security back in 1950, and it remains true today. Any attack on Social Security is an attack on our freedom and our security. Together, we will fight back against these attacks. And with that, I'm pleased to yield now to a longtime friend, a great governor, a greater commissioner of Social Security, and a great defender of the American family, Governor O'Malley.
Congressman, thanks very, very much, my friend, and thanks for standing up. I mean, the people of South Carolina have really done our country a great service by sending Congressman Clyburn to Congress. Jim Clyburn, there is no stronger, more fierce defender of that important unifying belief we all share in the dignity of every person. So Congressman, thank you for fighting so hard for all of us every day. And thank you to the people of South Carolina for sending Jim Clyburn to Congress. I had the honor to lead the men and women of the Social Security Administration when President Biden called me and asked me to go there. And when he did, he said, look, total disclosure, because of Republican cuts to their staffing, everything's been going in the wrong direction for the American people for like 10 years. So this is a colossal turnaround job. But I know how you like turnaround jobs. And indeed, I was honored to go there. And by the end of the Biden administration, Congressman, every customer service delivery, if you think of this like a big insurance company, human services, every one of the timeliness metrics by the end of President Biden's administration was moving in a better direction after Republicans had cut it to a 50-year low in staffing. But now all of those gains have been wiped out. And that's what I wanted to, and that's why I was glad to be able to answer your invitation to be with you tonight, and also with the chairwoman. I want to share with you, first of all, the hard truth, and then I want to close with maybe a hopeful truth as we open it up to questions. The hard truth is this. Over the last 45 days, co-president Elon Musk and his Doge team at Social Security, and I do believe, Congressman, blessed, encouraged, supported and every decision approved by the current nominee for Social Security, have gone about with a meat cleaver to dismantle this agency. Mass firings, eliminations of whole divisions, the Office of Oversight, Analytics and Review. Ironically, the same folks that say they want to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. The first division they tore up and tore apart was the Office of Analytics, Review, and Oversight that guards against, improper payments. They eliminated the entire Office of Customer Service Transformation that had worked all year last year with me and in the center of that collaborative circle to make it easier for people to do business with Social Security instead of harder. And they brought in another A player that same day, Claudia Postel, a lifetime civil servant, A-plus player. And they told her too, you and all of your 163 people are being fired today for cause. Put your stuff in cardboard boxes. Her job, she oversaw and she led the Office of Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity, the very office that an employee would turn to if a hostile work environment was being created. So whether it's through the mass firings, whether it's paying people with your money to leave right now, whether it's paying people for the entire year if they're retirement eligible to leave right now and don't let the door hit your backside on the way out, they have put this agency in a posture to drive it right into a ditch. They've taken 90% of the actions necessary to crater this agency and have it collapse in a total system failure. And yes, for the first time in 90 years, I do believe that system failure will result in an interruption for some time of the benefits that Social Security had never missed paying on a monthly basis for 90 years. So that's the stark reality. You're already seeing it. The exodus of more staff in 45 days than ever before in the agency's history. You're seeing the spike in wait times for everything. You're seeing intermittent service disruptions in terms of systems going down. Ultimately, that will cascade, I do believe, within the next 2 months in a total system collapse. The good news is this. The good news is that this program is supported across Democrats, Republicans, independents. 80% of Americans support, as Congressman Clyburn does, making Social Security stronger and strengthening that promise worth keeping for the next generation, that sacred trust for generations to come. And the good news is, whether it's the customer service or whether it's the long-term financial stability of Social Security, both of these are solvable problems. Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme. In fact, it is a pay-as-you-go program. That's why it's lasted 90 years. There is no Ponzi scheme, no pyramid scheme that's lasted 90 years. Last year, Social Security paid out $1.4 trillion in benefits. Working Americans paid in $1.3 trillion. Where did the difference come from to make those payments? It came from a built-up surplus reserve that was built up since 1982 to cover baby boomers generation like me. So the only thing right now that can save Social Security is you. It's the people. It's democracy. And don't give up on Republican members of the Senate or Republican members of the House. You might not be able to change their vote, but they need to see that you know. I've been doing everything I can with the congressman's help to ring the alarm that the steal is underway. Because this program is so popular, they can't just rob and loot it through the front door. They have to turn enough people against the agency so then, having wrecked it, they can rob it. Don't let them do it. We still have some time. So call your congresspeople, call your senators, tell them to keep their hands off your earned benefit. You earn that benefit. It's your money. It's not Elon Musk to turn into a Bitcoin bank. So with that, let me wrap up. And Congressman, again, thank you for your leadership and thank you for fighting to save Social Security and Medicare.
Thank you very much. And Crystal, we're going to let you go to the questions and you let us know who ought to be answering.
All right, y'all. So we do have a lot of questions, and I see some folks have already started. Please feel free to put some additional questions in the chat, as staff will be going through them and pulling them out for us. So the first question is going to be for Governor O'Malley, and it comes from Barbara down in Beaufort County. For those of us who paid into this fund for 50 plus years, Are we vested in the Social Security Fund and entitled to a lifetime benefit?
In normal times, you should be. According to the law, you are. And yet we now are entering into this phase of America's journey where we have become something less than a republic, where we have a president that has no regard for the law, and we have a co-president who feels like his chainsaw needs to be taken to every government program. So, I mean, to answer your question, under the law, and you and I think, believe that the law matters, and in this nation, you should be vested. You should have earned that benefit because you paid in for your 40 quarters, and therefore you have earned that benefit. The danger we're in right now is this uncharted territory where we have an administration that really doesn't care much about the law, whether it's in safeguarding your privacy or whether it's in safeguarding and fulfilling that trust. So I don't mean to scare anybody or freak anybody out here, but they have taken so many actions that the only thing that's going to stop them is for you to rise up and make sure your voice is heard by Republican senators, by Republican congressmen, and also, I mean, certainly encourage your Democratic congresspeople. But Barbara, according to the act, yes, you should have an earned benefit. There was an interesting comment made the other day, Congressman. I don't know if you heard it, but the White House press secretary, when pressed by this, because people are waking up. There are big town halls happening all over the place where people are demanding that Elon Musk take his chainsaw away from their Social Security benefits. And the White House press secretary said, anybody who's currently receiving benefits will continue to receive benefits. Well, why did she put that modifier currently on that statement? So we have to, you should have earned that benefit. It should be yours. We shouldn't have to worry about this, but we have to worry about a lot of things now, don't we? But we have to be hopeful and hope that, and hope that by the people rising up and having their voices heard, we can put the brakes on this. Because there's a lot of Republicans. There was an article in the Hill. I know I'm talking too long, Crystal. I promised to keep a time limit on myself in the future, but there was an article in a publication called The Hill, which I know the congressman and his staffers get every day. And the headline, congressman said, Republicans behind closed doors want Elon Musk to shut up about Social Security. So I think they're feeling the heat, but what they need to see is that trend line going up every week that shows more and more and more and more and more people are concerned about their benefits being stolen from them. And that's what will give them room in the closed doors to perhaps put the brakes on this guy. And of course, we still have an election coming up 2 years from now, but this is happening fast. So, Crystal, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if I may, Governor, people are beginning to rise up. I'm pleased to report to you, yesterday was an election day in quite a few places in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
A Democrat won a seat in Pennsylvania. There was a plus 23, Republican plus 23.
That's great.
Yesterday, the Democrat won. There in Dorchester County, South Carolina, a Democrat won 2-1 in a seat that a Republican just left and had been there for 2 cycles. People are beginning to rise up. So let's not wait for 2 years.
Right.
Look at these elections, these county councils and the town councils and city councils, school boards elections, these special elections. Let's get involved now. And I think that when people see this, it'll send a signal all the way up to the White House that they better get their act together and keep their hands off of your Social Security.
That's right. And someone asked me in another one of these town halls, shouldn't we be all calling the White House too? And yeah, I think we should. I mean, I think a lot of us have so given up on the White House, the thought of even calling them doesn't cross our mind. But yeah, light it up. Don't let them make you feel like your voice doesn't matter. It does. And yeah, those elections, Congressman, awesome harbingers of better days to come.
Absolutely.
All right, the next question for Congressman Clyburn from Nancy in Richland County. How do Democrats plan to work effectively to preserve Social Security benefits?
Well, let me just tell you, thank you so much, Nancy, for your question. Look, Democrats have been sounding the alarm about the dismantling all over. I've taken to doing, and I hope you've seen them, doing videos. I did one last week on Social Security. Did another one today, and it's already out there on Facebook. I've already gotten phone calls about it. We are fighting back in 3 specific ways. Number one, we are fighting in the courts. We are trying to save customer service. Number two, we are fighting to protect Americans with all over legislatively. Congressman John Lawson, I just got a statement from him. He has been fighting this, and you all may have seen this, but they've now put out a new statement, Governor, that this administration is now cutting back on their cuts. You remember they said they were going to, if you want to change your benefits,
Right.
You couldn't do it on the phone. You got to go into a local office.
Right.
So it's having a benefit. We're sounding the alarm. We're fighting. We're having these town hall meetings. You just did one, Governor, last night. Tell them how many people were on the one you did last night.
Yeah,
I think up in the state of Washington.
There were 20,000 people on a congresswoman's telephone town hall. And then I've done like 10 town halls across Florida. Many of them, like one church was like literally filled to the rafters. The balcony was filled up in addition to people there. There was another reversal today that came about. What they've been trying to do is make it harder for people to do business and tell them, you have to go to your field office. Meanwhile, they're closing field offices. So they're trying to give customers a miserable experience by cramming them in there. One of the things they tried to do that they reversed because of the uproar, and the outrage was to tell people they couldn't file for disability benefits unless they came in and showed their ID in a field office. Well, how the hell are you going to do that if you're in the intensive care unit because of a disability? So they reversed that one as well. So I do believe that all of these things are having an effect, and I really appreciate the Congress people and Congressman Clyburn and others raising their voices on this as well. Hakeem Jeffries.
Great. All right, we've got a question for the governor from Meg. She didn't put where she was from. But although reports are conflicting, I'm hearing that starting in April, all current Social Security recipients will need to make an in-person identity verification in an NA and Social Security office, or benefits will or may be terminated. Is this true? You just kind of spoke to that a little bit.
I haven't heard them announce that. I don't think that's true, but it's understandable given the chaos they're creating and the and some of the very real things they're doing to make it harder for people. I haven't heard it said that they're going to require every beneficiary to prove their ID by going into a field office, but they are reducing the numbers of things. See, Congressman, you told me to make it easier for people to do business with Social Security, not harder. So we were on a mission to do that all year. Now they're on a mission to make it harder for people to do business. But no, they have not yet announced, I guess anything's possible. They have not yet announced that every beneficiary has to go prove their ID. What they were saying, I believe the initial, well, I'm not going to defend them. Their initial announcement was you can no longer, change your bank account by going over the phone or change your address. But no, I haven't heard it said that any beneficiary has to go in April. Stay tuned. They haven't gone that far yet.
Perfect. Another question for you, Governor, from Erica from Richland County. Why can't we get a lump sum payout for all the money we put in if the plan is to get rid of it? And why is it considered an entitlement when this is money the government takes from us?
Yeah, well, it's not I would agree with the congressman. It's not an entitlement. It's an earned benefit. But you earned a benefit to be a part of this, insurance, social insurance, Social Security, and the security, the insurance, is against dying in poverty when you can no longer work. There was a young guy at the gym, and now they're all young, younger than I am. He came up to me and he said, so if they liquid, he said, what's going to happen to Social Security? I said, I don't know. It looks to me like they want to break it so that they can liquidate it. And he said, well, if they liquidate it, I'll get my money back out of it, won't I? I said, oh, no, man, that's not the way it works. The only way you get back what you've put into it is if the program continues to go and we continue to honor that sacred trust, that promise made over generations. Because the way the system operates is that I said at the beginning of this call, the 1.4 trillion we paid out, Madam Chair, that 1.4 trillion was paid out mostly by the dollars earned and paid in that same year by Americans that are working. Americans that are working pay in the benefits that are paid out. Last year was 1.4 trillion. Americans that are working paid in 1.3 trillion. The difference between that was taken out of the Social Security Trust Fund Reserve, or surplus, if you will, that had been built up since 1982 when the last adjustment was made to cover the demographic bubble of us baby boomers moving through the system. So it's not as if there are dollars they do keep track of every dollar that we earned since we got a W-2 in our first summer job. They do keep track of that, but that's to calculate your ultimate benefits. It's not as if it's a savings account. It is a pay-as-you-go program. So the beauty of that is for 90 years, it's never gone bankrupt, and it can't go bankrupt. It can't go insolvent, because as long as Americans work, dollars will be paid in to pay out the benefits. The only way to drive it into bankruptcy or into solvency or to make its customer service collapse is to choke it and to kill it. And that's what these guys are trying to do.
Oh, wow. Okay, Congressman Clapper, we've got a question for you. Can the Senate Democrats stop any changes to Social Security by using filibuster?
Well, yes, they can. There's no question about that. Now, I believe it's written, and the governor probably knows this better than that, it's written into law that Social Security has a certain insulation from what we call the reconciliation procedures. But the one thing about Social Security that bothers me a whole lot is that I don't think enough people see the interrelatedness between Social Security and Medicare. And so, Governor, I think to answer this question, if you share with our audience here how Social Security is not in a silo, that Medicare and in some instances Medicaid are interrelated. Do you mind?
Yeah, sure. I'll do my best. When one applies for Medicare, Social Security is actually the intake point for those applications. So we came up with a way to automate those applications. So we got them done in 8 seconds instead of 8 minutes. But it's a lot of people that apply, and some of them for Medicare only. Once they're 65, they postpone the time at which they apply for their full Social Security benefit. Social Security also acts for people that are active beneficiaries. Their Medicare payment actually comes out of their Social Security benefit. So we act as both the enroller for Medicare and also kind of the the bill collector, if you will, because it comes out of their Social Security benefits. And you're right, Congressman, there has not been a whole lot of attention or focus placed on, well, what happens to Medicare and Medicare billing if there's a total system collapse at Social Security? And back to another point you made, it is true that the act kind of ropes off the Social Security Trust Fund. But ever since the first George Bush, for some reason that I don't understand in terms of the law of common sense, Congress considers their administrative budget, you know, all of that's the staffing, to be part of the discretionary caps. There was a time when just like the benefits were mandatory, so too was the customer service necessary to access those benefits. But that changed for no good reason. Social Security, my friends, my fellow Americans, operates at less than 1% overhead for benefits paid. And if you compare that to any private insurance company, I mean, Allstate operates at 19%, Liberty Mutual 23%. So what the Doge team was going after was not, you know, the inefficiency of this program. They're going after the program. They think that seniors and people with disabilities are by their nature wasteful inefficiencies. That's what's going on.
And, you know, let me say something here, because I want people to understand. I get very upset when I hear people telling me, I don't think Social Security is going to be there for me. I'm 25, 30 years old. It's not going to be there. Well, let me tell you something. Social Security is there for you now, right now. If you've got parents or grandparents and you are going to be responsible for their upkeep if Social Security crashes.
Right.
I don't know anybody here who is so selfish that they want it to all be about them today. And so if you're 25, 30 years old, 40 years old, Social Security is there for you right now. If your parents and your grandparents are getting the benefit, if it is closed down, if they stop it, if they are successful, then what's going to happen to your parents and grandparents? If you don't think it's there for you, just think about what's going to happen if they destroy Social Security and then Medicare and then Medicaid. I tell people all the time, they're telling me about Medicaid, what it's for. Nobody that's a beneficiary of Medicaid owns that nursing home that they will need for Medicaid. The fact of the matter is, this stuff is so interrelated, and I think the governor is so right. The way this thing is set up, it's set up as a sacred trust, and it is a trust that we ought to keep sacred, not let these people get their hands onto it. Because I'm telling you, in the final analysis, whatever money they save by closing down Social Security, they're going to use that to give tax breaks to these multimillionaires or even multi-billionaires. By the way, the man I just talked about, who talked about his mother-in-law, he is worth $4 billion. Maybe he ought to share some of that with his mother-in-law.
Yeah, and that was the guy that said, cut off people's checks, and if anybody whines, you'll know they're the ones committing the fraud. I was at the town hall in Florida, Congressman, and by the way, when I was in college in 1980s, we all thought it wasn't going to be there for us. And wow, lo and behold, I can apply today. I reached 62. But there was a woman, and she said, you know, what's the most persuasive argument we can make to young people who don't even think about Social Security and don't think it will be there for them? And she said, I've got an idea for everybody. Tell them we're all moving into their basement if they cut off Social Security. And we laugh, but it's true.
It's true.
All right, Governor, we've got a question from Catherine over in Lexington County. How secure are our Social Security records? Is there even the slightest chance of a new Social Security system being designed and issued to millions of workers and retirees?
Ooh, this is going to call on me to do my my systems thing. the base, your data, I mean, some people have asked me, Madam Chair, should I be, if I have a myssa.gov account, should I be printing out my earnings every day, my own records every day? I don't think you need to do that. There are, the base of the system is we hear the word COBOL, green screen, a type of computer code in the old IBM mainframes that's there. They don't even teach that type of coding anymore in colleges with people that are, majors in computer science. But your data is there, your earnings are there. It's probably a good idea to print them out once a month, but those things get backed up. Every night in a number of centers. There's 2 other backup centers. So that data itself, I believe, famous last word, I do believe that data itself is pretty safe, and it would be hard to do away with that data. However, on top of that database, the one that the Doge kids wanted total unfettered access in, and that's the whole privacy conversation, maybe for another question, there are different applications that sit atop of that, whether it's disability or effectuating your Medicaid benefits or your retiree benefits. And there's about 52 applications that sit on top of those. And then there's another 1,000 that sit on top of those. So there's a whole architecture here, almost like, the layers of an ancient city built on top of one another. So it is, the danger here is not that they'll lose all of your personal earnings and data, though anything is possible, I guess. The danger here is that by paying all of the knowledgeable people who understand how it's all connected to leave and don't let the door hit your backside on the way out, no knowledge transfer at all, that you're going to have a shutdown of those application systems on top that ultimately cause the entire system to shut down and crater and interrupt even the payment of benefits. The effectuation of, the actual payment, the disbursement of which comes out of the Treasury Department. But I do believe that I do believe that you're going to see an interruption in benefits. I don't know how long it will last, but I hope that answered your question. I don't think there's a danger in your actual earnings record being corrupted or lost. The danger is that payments may be interrupted for some period of time, and there may be, because of that, other things that happen. Who knows? We can all catastrophize when we have a president that doesn't give a rat's ass about the law.
Yeah, but what you're talking about there, if you destroy the efficiency of the system, then you have buried the effectiveness of that system.
That's
and right. What they're doing in the name of efficiency is building in inefficiency.
Right.
That's what they're doing. And the whole game here is to get the thing so messed up to people lose faith in it. Then they'll come along with something they call, this is the fix. And what's their fix? Privatization.
Right.
They want to privatize Social Security. And that's this whole thing here. And once again, this isn't a silo here. They're already talking about veterans benefits, privatizing veterans benefits. They're now talking about the Postal Service, privatizing the Postal Service. Now, you forgive me for this. This is a little bit of feel, but I've been telling people most of my adult life, I am all about the effectiveness of government. Efficiency must be balanced. If all you want out of the government is efficiency, you want one person rule. And that's why you see Doge is all about, the E stands for efficiency. I would love for that E to stand for effectiveness.
Right.
All right. Question for the governor again, Maureen, from Maureen, she didn't put her county. I just received a considerable amount due to the repeal of WEP. Do I have to be concerned that Doge might claw it back?
No, I don't think so. That was an act signed into law that congressmen advanced and that the president signed. I was honored to be there at that signing ceremony. I don't think you will see them clawing that back. It had pretty bipartisan Democratic and Republican support. But then again, they totally reversed. Congressman, you remember when we used to intercept 100% of somebody's benefits before I got there, 100% of benefits if we, the agency, overpaid a senior and they didn't respond to our notices, we would intercept 100% of their benefits. Well, we changed that policy, but this guy, their puppet commissioner, changed it back to the 100% intercept. So I suppose anything's possible, but I don't believe that is, I don't think that is, I don't think there will be a clawback of that. The bigger danger is that the actions they've taken will crater this agency, and there'll be some interruption of benefits for some period of time.
If I may, Madam Chair, let me interpret for my friends, my neighbors in the Greenview precinct there in Columbia, what the governor just said. And I want to congratulate the governor for that. What he's talking about here is when the government, or for whatever reason, a recipient of Social Security gets more, could be an error made by the government, and it's paid more than they deserve. And the audit detects that. They're now saying they will immediately get 100% of what you earn until you pay it back. The governor, when he was a commissioner, was 10%.
You know, instead of intercepting 100% in a default, we went to 10%. And Democrats and Republicans applauded us for that. Seemed more humane and decent.
Yeah. So if you got $300 coming, only 30 of that would go to pay back that which you were overpaid per month until you pay it out. Now you're saying you got $300 coming, and you was overpaid $400. That whole $300 gone,
right,
for that month, and then they wait to get the other 100 the next month. So that's what we're talking about. And so this guy comes in, going back to that process, which is so inhumane.
Really is. And you know, it's going to take us longer to catch up with those errors because there's fewer staff now, and so the amount that people owe is going to be greater. So the duration, and it's all very, they seem to be in a mode of turning people, like you said, Congressman, making people lose faith in the agency by debilitating its ability to operate with, you know, a high level of customer service, or even with basic, you know, human, you know, justice, dignity, fairness, equity. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to some questions from the chat, and either one of you can decide to answer this. From Roseanne, our Congressmen are Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott. Both have sold their souls to Trump. We send message after message and receive form letters telling us how they support Doge and Trump. How do we fight this?
I would say keep calling them, but I don't think you give up on them. I think when they caucus behind closed doors, and Congressman, you can disabuse me of this, I do believe they talk, and I do believe with one another they share notes and they say, hey, I'm getting a ton of calls about this Social Security stuff. So keep calling them. Don't give up. It's not about changing their vote. It's about making sure that they hear your voice. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about.
I think you're right about that. Sure, you keep calling them. You keep sending the letters, and they will. I don't know of any congressperson that won't have second thoughts when they get these kinds of reactions. In fact, it's been reported already that there's been a meeting on the other side of the aisle. In fact, there was almost an emergency meeting of the cabinet. When was yesterday or the day before? People are reacting, and I understand that they have been saying to President Trump, we need to put a muzzle on Mr. Musk. So it's having an impact. So don't stop.
Great. Congressman Clyburn, a question for you. Freddie, over in Barnwell County, why aren't Democrats working to divide Donald Trump and Elon Musk, turn them against each other?
Well, I don't know if we need to do that. I do believe that when you lay out the contrasts between us and them, as we're doing here this evening, we are saying to you what we believe should be the case with Social Security going forward. And there are things like I've been fighting ever since I've been in the Congress. Right now, as you know, people only pay Social Security on their first $176,100 of income. If you make twice that, and a lot of people do, you don't pay any Social Security on anything over $176,100. I've been all for raising that. And if you don't want to go through all that they make, raise it to $250,000 or $300,000. It helped make Social Security solvent, and it also helped to put the contrast between us and the other side. So to me, you drive the wedge by drawing the contrast. I just don't believe in that form of what I call that form of DEI. The D in this case stands for division. I don't believe in dividing people. I don't believe in insulting people. I just don't believe in these the nastiness that take place. We just saw yesterday when the moment the people on the other side get caught in a controversy, they started calling people names. I don't believe in that. I believe in saying, this is who I am, and this is what I stand for, and this is what this other guy stands for over there. Let that be the wedge, drawing the contrast between what I stand for and what he or she stands for. I just don't believe in throwing around insults, and I don't believe in excluding people. The DEI they've got, it stands for divide, exclude, and insult.
Yeah, it does. All right, another question from the chat from Anthony. Can constituents recall their members of Congress back home if they betray their oath and fall in line with Musk? Did y'all catch that? I think we got some feedback.
No.
I don't know how recall works. I think the recall is the midterms for Congress members.
I know we read about recalls and all that, and that works in city and county councils, and maybe I think there's some statewide states that have. I don't think we have that in South Carolina. So what we got to do is show up at the next election.
Sorry about that.
That's been a challenge in some of our counties, as you know. I saw what happened in Clarendon County, for instance, where I saw that Kamala Harris got 3,000 less votes than Joe Biden got 4 years earlier. Why? And we looked at it precinct by precinct. And that's not the only county. Why we had this fall off in voters. So I think that people are beginning to see now that elections have real consequences. And I don't know that anybody who went to the polls last November or who did not go to the polls last November had any idea that we will wake up here in March and see things like Social Security going down the drain. That nobody expected. But that's what we're faced with.
Right.
It's not going to stop here. We've got to get ourselves engaged on all fronts.
All right, Governor O'Malley, Eloise from Florence County. My Social Security benefits are high. My Social Security benefit is higher than my husband's. If he passes before me, how would that affect my benefit or his? Should I pass on before him?
Boy, you know, Congressman, they quickly got to a level of detail I'm not capable of communicating. And this is why we shouldn't cut staff from the Social Security Administration.
That's exactly right.
These are real life questions. And I don't want to tell you something that turns out not to be true. During my time there, I used to wait in reception areas all across the country. I mean, when I would visit a field office, I would sit there and talk to people and ask them what business they were there to conduct. I learned a lot, but I don't know enough to tell you, you know, what the nuances are of that situation. So I don't want to mislead you. So I would encourage you to go to a field office, or you might be able to find the answers to that online. The question, now I'm getting drawn into it. Now I want to try to guess. I'm not going to guess. It sounds like you have a higher benefit than your husband's, and you want to know, you know, what will happen.
The husband has a higher benefit.
Okay, I'm not capable of answering that for you in your circumstance. If I tried, I might give you the wrong answer, and I don't want to do that. Which is why it's so essential not to cut Social Security staffers who are trained up and have 20 years of experience, making sure they give people the right answers to the amount of benefits they've earned and owed.
All right, here's another kind of process question too, Governor. Jesse from Lexington County. As someone who relies on supplemental security income and Medicaid while also looking for work, how can I continue to protect my rights as a disabled person? How will this impact employment, medical needs, and community support? What about supporting those who can't speak for themselves?
Yeah, there have been a number of, Congressman was talking about the litigation fronts that have opened on this. There have been a number of, I believe there's a suit in the works on behalf of people with disabilities, because these cuts are having a disparate impact on people with disabilities. And an SSI, especially in the situation of this gentleman who's writing, it is so hard to stay on that to stay on that program and to stay within the narrow parameters. It's like you're walking on a balancing beam. You need to work in order to make ends meet and to live. But if you work too much or get paid too much, then you fall off the other side and you lose your Medicaid and you lose your SSI. So you've just got to be super, super careful in these days ahead to keep total track of your earnings and know what the parameters are, so that you don't trip the wire and become part of that cliff. You know, SSI obviously was the product of a compromise, because it is the program for the poorest of the poor, and it's also a program that's hard as hard can be to stay on and to administer. We spend 40% of our administrative overhead goes to administering SSI, which is only like, 4% of our benefits. So you just got to be super careful, man, not to go over that earnings limit, so you don't lose your Medicaid.
All right, thank you.
And you're so right about that. I believe there are 130 active legal cases that Democrats have brought against this administration. And according to the information I've received, 20% of that is against those. 130 130 active cases, which means, I'm not a big math person, but that means that almost 40 of those 130 cases are against Doge.
Okay, Congressman, this question.
In other words, against Elon Musk.
Yeah, you know what they did recently up in Baltimore? Maryland judge granted an injunction, a temporary restraining order against those Doge kids rummaging through all of the personal data. They wanted total access. They wanted the source codes, not the narrow access that even longtime people in the agency are given to accomplish their job. They wanted total access. They wanted it now. And the judge issued a temporary restraining order prohibiting them from rummaging through our personal things against Doge and Doge affiliates. And so the way they got around that, Congressman, was the CIO stepped aside, became a senior advisor, and then they put one of these 20-year-old Doge kids in charge as the CIO of the agency. These guys are unrelenting. Not sure. I'm not sure what the judge's response to that will be. But next question.
All right, this question is going to be for Congressman Clyburn and Yvette over in Horry County. Do you think the reason Trump wants to rob us of our hard-earned benefits, remove all the employees so they have to declare bankruptcy, take higher loans, etc., is so that he can turn it around and use it to put into the Treasury to cover the loss of revenue we're going to have as a result of those ridiculous tariffs that he loves?
Well, that could be some of it, but I think it has more to do with these big tax cuts that he wants to make. And if in 2.0, if it's anything like 1.0, 85–90% of the benefit of those tax cuts go to the upper 10% in income in our country. That, to me, is what the desire is. Now, I don't know what is going to be netted from the tariffs, but I believe that the plan that was put together, which was something tantamount to what we call Project 2025, is to go after this big money in these earned benefits in order to have the money that they need to make these big tax cuts. So the tariffs will cost us or may cost us money, but I don't believe that's the big deal. That won't be anything like what they're trying to get out of the savings from Medicaid. And they've got it in their budget, $800 billion is what they've got. They think they're going to be able to play with.
Yep. You know, there was an article in Salon magazine that talked about Elon Musk and his kind of worldview of this weird co-presidency we found ourselves with. And by the way, I don't think anybody that voted for Donald Trump thought they were voting for a co-president either, especially not a pre-apartheid South African. And he said in there, and it was an actual quote when he was on Joe Rogan, he said that empathy is the greatest weakness in the Western mind. And it went on to unpack his sort of worldview that human beings have value to the extent that they contribute to the system that allows people like him to make a lot of money. So in that worldview, people who aren't working, whether because they are elderly or because they are disabled, are themselves wasteful inefficiencies. It was a chilling article. But that's what we're up against here.
My goodness, I got to get that article.
Yeah, Salon magazine. It was so well.
Salon magazine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got
my staff is here with me. She'll have it by morning. Thank you.
So we're at just over an hour, Governor, and Congressman Clyburn. I think we've got time for one more question, or you guys tell me, but I do have another question for the governor from the chat. So this
Yeah,
is
please ask him. I know we don't know when we're gonna get him again.
all right. So this,
I do. I show up anywhere you tell me to, Congressman. I'm not.
so this is from Nikki. What exactly would the process? What exactly would be the process if they did want to privatize Social Security? Presumably, it would take more than just an executive order. Would Congress have to pass a bill to dismantle the agency? Given how unlikely that would ever be, do we really need to worry about this?
Yeah, I think, right now, we find ourselves kind of when these guys do things that we've never seen before, we calm ourselves by going back to, clinging tight to the America in which we grew up. But we've become now something less than a republic. And I don't say that, I don't say that lightly. But these guys have such, and they're almost all guys, at least when you read about the people doing the things with Social Security and the Doge Bros, they have such little regard for the law that the norms with which we grew up no longer apply. So yes, I mean, you're right, because of your own education and how our government works, that would require a law and an act. But the recklessness, the blitzkrieg speed with which they are dismantling Social Security and driving it to total system collapse leads me to believe that they are trying to create an emergency situation where so many people scream out that they're not receiving their benefits, that they want the leader, the president, to do whatever he has to, do it as quickly as he can. In emergencies, bad things happen. In emergencies, like after the 9/11 attacks, our constitutional freedoms were never more in jeopardy than they were immediately after that emergency, that attack. So I think my sense is they're trying to create the emergency of having the system fail and benefits interrupted, so that then they can do whatever they want to dismantle the agency in the name of getting you your benefits right away. Perhaps getting your benefits for a few months, perhaps getting your benefits restored as quickly as possible, and then liquidating the program, and perhaps sending you a lump sum if you're an active beneficiary, and saying, good luck. It was always a bad program and a Ponzi scheme. You knew it was going bankrupt all along. I think that's their plan. But that's why Congressman Clyburn and other Democrats are shining the light on it. And that's why it's so important that so many of you showed up tonight for this town hall. There's somebody's trying to rob you of your benefits. They've snuck in the middle of the night. You need to turn on the lights, and you need to sound the alarm and get your neighbors to wake up too.
I think you're exactly right about that. And let me remind people, I guess I'm maybe the only one here would remember this. In 1994, when Newt Gingrich got elected, they came out with something in 1995 that they call contract, I say on America. They said with America, but it was on America. But there was one statement made back then that I shall never forget, when he was accused of trying to get rid of Medicare. He said, no, I just want to shrink it to such a point that we can drown it in a bathtub. That's what's going on here. They want to shrink it, Social Security, to such a point that they can see it die on the vine. No, he's right. The Congress would have to decide to eliminate it. And as I said, under the reconciliation, I think the parliamentarian has already ruled that Social Security is all, they can't use reconciliation with Social Security, but they can close down these regional offices. They can terminate these employees.
Thousands.
thousands of employees and render it so inefficient until it'll die on the vine.
Mm-hmm. And people will die waiting in line.
That's exactly right.
All right.
Thank you, Chair Spain, for putting this together. And thank you so much for getting the governor to give us some time to utilize his expertise. And I want to say to those who are on, I don't know if I know how to read this, but I think we got, 1,300 people still on here with us. Thank you all so much for tonight. And just remember, beware. Anytime you have an atmosphere like this, the scammers will come. There'll be people who telling you what they can do to save your Social Security. Beware of all of that. Call Crystal's office, call my office, call whoever your congressperson might be. Don't get caught up in this. And most especially, AARP is everywhere. This is their issue. If anybody called you and you question it, pick up your phone and call the AARP office. They specialize in this. Or call your congressman. And I think there's another group called Social Security Works.
Group.
If you're anything like me, get your grandchild to help you go online and find some of these places. Don't sign up with anybody knocking on your door.
Thank you, Congressman. Governor O'Malley, do you want to give us some closing remarks?
I just want to thank you.
Now, what kind of action items outside of going to town halls and participating? Congressman Clyburn just gave some great information about groups that people can trust. What would be some additional action items that you would give as a former head of the Social Security Administration?
Yeah, I would say what you've learned tonight, make sure you share it with your friends. Make sure you also communicate across generations. It's that happens on issues too, where young kids educate grandparents and society moves. And other times it's grandparents now that have to educate their grandkids that, hey, this is there for you. This is a promise among us, between us, over the generations, across the country. So post on your Facebook, get other people to write, spread the word. The only thing that can save Social Security is for us to make sure that our voices are heard. Don't give up on your Republican members of your Senate. Call them, email, and be open. Connect with those organizations the Congressman just noted. No doubt there'll be other protests, there'll be other actions, and we have to let Congress know that we're not going to take this like a bunch of rabbits facing their doom. We need to make sure we are vocal. So don't give up. Have hope. I know this was hard news tonight, but don't panic. Don't give up. Have hope. As Bonhoeffer said, in a really challenging time, 3 things you do in a time like this: pray, act, hope, as we wait for God's time. So thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Congressman, and thank you, the people of South Carolina, for sending America such a great leader in Jim Clyburn.
Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all, everyone who stayed on this entire time. Again, please, if you're not engaged with us in any way, please sign up for our action alerts on our website. Follow us on Facebook, so Instagram, Blue Sky. We're still on it. We might get off, but we're still there. We give out a lot of information all the time. So please follow us so you can get the information for our in-person town hall that we're going to have coming up in April. Thanks again, everybody.